Are you ready for the weekend yet? We have events, news, and a guest for you to enjoy this Lake Life weekend. Hello and welcome to another episode of Lake Life Weekend Podcast. I'm Dirk, I'm your host, and we're approaching weekend 40 already. Fall is in full swing and it is beautiful out. I know there was some rain predicted, but I hope that's going to be gone. Stay tuned for our interview with Kenny Nelson, one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the area, in fact. He's part of the Minnesota Hall of Fame for Business, and he will share his story of living in Lakes Country and building a company with us shortly. So stay tuned for this. Also, please get ready for a fun event this weekend by Vergus at Camp Sheriff. We have the I Outran the Hairy Man run. So that is a fun event this Saturday at 4 p.m. It's a 5K. It's a family event. I believe it's the 6th annual event. We have been there for a couple times in the past years, Harry and I, and we're actually volunteering this weekend as well. So please come out and say hi. There's many more things happening, in particular fall days in Maplewood State Park, and it's just beautiful to be out this weekend again. So check out our website, lakelifeweekend.com, for a full event schedule, destinations, highlights, and all kinds of things fun in the area. Thank you again for tuning in. I don't want to keep this much longer. You have a wonderful weekend ahead and enjoy our interview with Kenny Nelson of Perham. Thank you. Welcome to our interview part. I'm here with Kenny Nelson. Hi, Kenny.
Hi.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming on a beautiful fall day in Perham. You are the owner of a very large company in the area, a very successful businessman. Many people know you. I think many people heard your story. Today I would like just to speak about your life in the area, a little bit history, how it all began, and then of course you're part of Lake Life. So before we talk the KLN brands and everything you have created today, maybe we go back and start a little bit at the beginning. So you tell us, where are you from?
Okay, as we talked about earlier, I was born in Fargo.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was a milkman for Fairmont Dairies at the time, and we moved from Fargo to actually Cokato, Minnesota, where my dad became a plant manager for a little feed company.
Uh-huh.
And we did that when I was about 3, and then when we left there when I was 5, and we moved to Perham. So that was the beginning, and I started first grade when I was 5, and that was the beginning of our setting our roots in Perham, which I've been here for now almost 72 years.
Yeah. Early achiever. You went to first grade with 5.
Yes.
I think I went with 7. So.
Yeah, and we didn't have kindergarten or anything like that at the time, and or preschool, like kids go to school when they're 3 years old today, and pretty soon, right out of birth, they'll be doing some type of learning. It just keeps getting
earlier and earlier.
Earlier and earlier. Yes, absolutely.
So you kind of, I think all your memories then are from Perham. So tell us about Perham in the late 40s, I suppose, post World War II. How was it growing up in Lakes Country and Perham? I mean, we have Big Pine, Little Pine. Can you tell us some of your experience, memories?
Sure. I can remember the first, when I was 5, and we just moved, I think, in the summer, and I went to, at the time it was St. Stan's Church, went to kind of a summer recreation program there, and got to meet some of what became my friends ultimately, because we were all in the first, or about to enter the first grade. And I don't remember a lot. Probably my first 4 grades or so, I do know that I was in love with my 4th grade teacher. She was nice. She was so pretty and nice. But then I was at the public school at the time from 1 through 4, and then 5 through 8 I went to St. Henry's,
Okay.
a Catholic school here, and we had a little gym was about as big as your studio here, and so kind of got involved in sports and enjoyed my school there, and then of course 9th grade went into the Fern Public School and got involved in sports and also actually studied a little bit.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
But
I did, and then I was fortunate enough to get enrolled into Notre Dame and graduated 4 years later.
So you were in Perm, of course, all your teens, and before you left to, is that Michigan? No, where's Notre Dame again?
It's in Indiana.
Oh, Indiana. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. How was Perm though? It was small, wasn't it?
Perm was small. It was probably only 2,000 people
Okay.
then, and I think in another couple of years we'll be approaching 4,000.
Yeah.
But all of our growth comes on the lakes anyway,
Yeah.
so it's a little misleading, the fact that our community is only 3,500 or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
soon to be 4,000. But the growth has really been on all the lakes around within a 10-mile radius of Perm. But I got very homesick because I was just
How was
in
that?
this-
Leaving to
It was
an
a-
Ivy League big college
Yeah.
from small town like Perm. That's what
Yeah.
it was. It was very small, and then you came to this.
So
Well-
the first I went in, and my parents dropped me off, and I was, like I say, very homesick, and my roommate turns out to be a guy from Chicago. The guys, everybody that was in the same floor that I was in my first dormitory that I was at were from California and all over the U.S. And
Mhm.
here I'm a little guy from Perm, and I'm thinking, holy mackerel, this is going to be hard to compete with these people. But I was maybe a B+ student, lucky to get into Notre Dame. Had some connections actually through a local priest that helped me get into Notre Dame, and but when I got there, I got pretty serious and ended up with a decent GPA,
Mm-hmm.
which I was very happy to graduate with, and thought a little bit about going into the medical arena.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the University of Minnesota and took a couple classes in organic chemistry
Mm-hmm.
and physics, and in 2 weeks I knew that I had reached the pinnacle of my knowledge, and I was in the wrong area. So fortunately, and this was the time the Vietnam War was heating up
Mm-hmm.
in 59. So 63. I'm sorry. So I enlisted in the Army Reserves, U.S.
Okay.
Army Reserves, and went into the service. And I was in the in boot camp and in training for about 5.5 months, and I could not wait to get out of the service. I mean, I respect and appreciate everything that the military has done for the U.S. and all the lives that have been lost for our freedom, but it was so much redundancy and not accomplishing anything for about a 5.5 month period.
Mm-hmm.
It drove me nuts,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't wait to get out and do something constructive and to try to be successful, because I just had a bent up energy level that was crazy when I got out of the service.
So wait. So we were leaving Perm. We succeeded Notre Dame with a business degree,
Right?
and then you tried your luck with chemistry and medical. You were in the military, and you were how old? 22, 23, 24? Then
No,
when you left?
I was 21 when I graduated
Okay.
from Notre Dame, and entered. I was 22 when I got into the U.S. Army Reserves.
Okay.
And So I spent, like I say, about half a year there, and couldn't wait to get out. And so I came back and
To Perm.
to Perm
With
and,
all the energy.
Yes.
20-year-old.
22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad said, Kenny, you got to have a project now, because I've got this little feed and business here, and
He had a shop.
yeah, he had a nice little plant that started with 3,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
Today is about 750,000 square feet, by the way, in the area that we're in. But so he said, why don't we try pet food? I can make pellets, and then we can add some stuff to it and kind of make it work.
A mix.
Yeah, mix, yes. So we made a very shoddy product, honestly, to start with. The name Tuffy, or Tuffies, was his nickname, which he had when he was about 12 years old. So his Tuffy is what everybody called him. Okay? And so we thought, well, it wouldn't take long to decide on the name of the pet food. Turned out to be a good name for the pet food. So we started Tuffy's Pet Food in 1964. And, like I say, I started with a little 1-ton Econoline van, that would haul 80 25-pound bags, and just went to the stores in Perm, and then I went to the stores in Urick Mills, and then all the way to Detroit Lakes and Fergus Falls.
And tried to sell your product.
Selling our product, yeah.
You were in sales.
I was
Active
in sales,
You
yes.
mixed it, you produced it, and then you sold it.
Yes, went out to, So I was kind of the sales guy, and my dad was the production guy,
Okay.
so to speak. And then pretty soon we finally got to the point after about a year and a half where we decided, you know what, this looks kind of viable. I was still the only guy selling, and had my little truck. Actually, I went to a little bigger truck.
Already?
To a 2.5-ton truck, yeah. So anyway, we finally really built a bona fide facility so that we can make a product that looked just like and tastes just like Purina dog chow, which was, at the time, there was just Purina dog chow and Vets products, which was a lower end product. It was called Vets dog food. And we were almost kind of like the third player. I mean, this was where pet foods was just in its infancy, really. So
how did you I'm sorry, but like, this is a real entrepreneurial moment. Your father has some sort of a shop, and you create a product which succeeded over 50 years, almost 60 years.
Right.
And you built a nationwide brand. So out of the energy of a 22-year-old, and your dad was 40-ish,
he was 42 years old, or
So
41, yes. Yeah.
very young still also, and
Yeah.
you two obviously were working well together. I mean, that's also relevant. And you created this business together, and,
Right.
and said, let's try dog food, and you became the third player. A very
Well, in addition to, I think I misspoke here, in addition to us introducing pet foods, he at the time was a manufacturer of poultry and livestock feeds, for chickens and turkeys and hogs and cows, and he made all kinds of different feeds. So, and he made some of it was pelletized, and that's why, because he had a pellet mill, we were able to make a very, like I say, very shoddy, poor quality pet food, but it kind of sold because we were local, mostly, honestly, to be honest with you. It was, so once we got to the point that we had a bona fide product to offer, and it was what's called an expanded, a chunk style pet food, that's when we really kind of took off. And so then I went to an 8-ton truck, and then we had 2 trucks, and pretty soon we had 8 trucks, and then we had 8 semis, and
you delivered just regionally. You said Detroit Lakes,
Yeah.
Urick Mills, and then it grew.
it kept growing. Yes, it kept
in a circle.
Yeah. We just kept going out further, and finally we went to the Twin Cities, and I actually spent 2 years in Minneapolis, got an apartment, and my wife and I went down there, and I started a route in Minneapolis. Then we hired a guy that took over the route, and then I started another route, and another guy took it over, and then and within about 6 years, we had gotten to the point that major distributors in especially the Midwest, were interested in our products, so we sold it to them.
Oh, wholesaling it.
Yeah, so then we started wholesaling, yes.
So I have a question still at the beginning. Yeah. I'm fascinated by marketing, and so how did you package it? Like, did you spray paint your logo on it? How did that? I mean, as a manufacturing is one thing, but how do you package it? How do you weigh it? I mean, there's so much logistics to it. How did that? Was it just?
Well, we knew we had to have a paper bag, so
okay, paper bag.
We went to the bag suppliers, and they did the design and everything for us, and we kind of told them what we wanted.
Okay.
And I mean, this is the way it kind of worked back then.
Okay.
I mean, today it's digital screens and everything that goes on.
Well, it has to be pretty too. I mean, like, you're in sales. So if I have 17 nowadays, I have 8 products to choose from a bag.
Yeah.
The one has a happy dog on it. The other one has a more happy dog on it.
Yeah.
I guess back in the day, it was simply the name and the ingredient. There was no dog face on it, was there?
Well, there was a dog on it with a black eye because Toughies seemed like that was the right type of a connotation to deliver.
Oh, tough.
So, yeah, tough guy. Yeah.
Awesome. I didn't. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm the foreigner here.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, make the dog tough. Toughies.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's where he got his nickname from. He had always had a.
No. He fell out of a tree when he was about 12 years old, and a bunch of older kids saw him. He fell about 10 feet to the ground, and got up and didn't cry. So they just kind of said to each other, "Geez, this is kind of a tough guy. I think we got to call him Tuffy."
Wow.
So that nickname stuck with him for all of his life.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we are probably approaching the 70s when you were in Minneapolis and you had wholesaling, distributor network.
Yeah.
And so you were probably in the upper Midwest, Wisconsin. What was your reach?
Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, the Dakotas, that was about it.
Okay.
But in 71, at that time we were co-manufacturing some products for the Heinz Company.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the items that they had, because the Heinz Company at that time owned Starkist, which is a tuna fish company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, they also made cat food, which is called 9 Lives Cat Food. And we were packing a lot of items for them. And we kind of got to know the people. And so in 1971, May of 71, we sold Toughies to the H.J. Heinz Company.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, they just blew up this thing. I mean, expanded. They got up to where they had 500 employees because a lot of the stuff was hand-packed. And now everything is automated, of course.
The company stayed in Perham, though.
It stayed in Perham for about 25 years. And then they sold it to a company called Windy Hills Pet Products. Then Doan Pet Products bought Windy Hills. And 30 years later, almost to the day, we bought Toughies back from Doan Pet Products, which was the last owner of the facility here.
Okay.
So they were going to close the company. They were going to close the plant.
Oh.
And I got a call from the guy that was in charge of selling the facility because they had a number of plants, and this was the only one that they were going to sell. The other ones they were going to either demolish or keep or whatever. So they decided to let this plant go, and so I got a call because my father had passed away prior to when we bought it back. He passed away in what year? I'm thinking it was in '86, and we actually bought this company back in 1987, I believe it was. Okay, so and I was had just started Kenny's Candy.
Yeah. What happened between 71 and 87.
Okay, well, so in 71 we sold it. In 73 I left Heinz.
Oh, you were.
I worked for them for 2 years, and once you kind of get used to being your own boss, it's hard to work for somebody. So I thought, I'm going to do something different. So I decided, because I love licorice, that I would start a licorice company.
Just because?
Yeah, well, here's a couple of reasons. One is I like licorice. Two is one of the bigger items that, I need to go back a little bit here. In 74, 73, I left Heinz. In 74, my dad and I started it, but my dad came and helped me. In 74, we started Barrel of Fun. Okay, so that was not a barrel of fun the first 3 or 4 years. On my 4th year of business, I sat down with my accountant at the time, and I asked him if he thought I should continue this business, because I hadn't made much money. In fact, we just started making a little bit of money about the 3.5 years into the startup of Barrel of Fun. And
which was Kenny, Barrel of Fun?
No, it was just Barrel of Fun at the time.
What did it do?
Kenny's came later. Barrel of Fun makes the potato chips and snacks.
Okay. Salty foods.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. You did too much. Okay.
Yeah, we did a lot. Well, we did crazy things. But anyway, so...
Sit down with the accountant and...
Yeah, and he said, I think you should close,
Close?
Yeah. He said, it just looks like it's a never-ending battle. It's a drain. I said, you know what? Gary's name was, I'm going to give it 1 more year. Well, we had a good year in our 5th year. And then from there, 3 years later, because my dad had co-signed some notes for me, and I'm never afraid to mention that I had some help from my dad co-signing notes. And I just wanted to, get him paid back and get my investment back, which I was able to do by selling it in 1981 to the G. Heileman Brewing Company. And they were located in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And and I had a 5-year payout commitment. I got some money up front plus a payout, which worked out okay for me. So, and my dad too. I mean, he was all paid off and with a decent return on his investment and so forth. But anyway, so then I decided, you know what, after my 5-year commitment to the Heileman Company, I thought about this licorice idea. Because when we first started Barrel of Fun, some of the things that we did, in addition to making potato chips and popcorn and cheese corn and other items, we actually bought bulk candies and packaged bulk candies. Okay, so you almost have to see this literally to understand, but the biggest selling item that we had by far, we probably had 20 different items. We had gummy bears and all kinds of, good and plenty and all kinds of different items. We bought bulk and put it into a little bag and put the Barrel of Fun label on it. Well, the biggest item by far was red twists. Okay, so we bought these things in 25-pound cases. They were kind of stuck together, so we had to actually peel one piece up from the other, put it into a pre-made bag, drop it in, put a label on it, and it was the most labor-intensive, terrible thing you could ever think about doing. But it was a big seller, and it kind of helped us with our cash flow, and so we had taken on another line of a Rippin' Good line of cookies, which is what the name was, called Rippin' Good, which I thought was kind of a clever name actually, because they were good. And so we distributed that. We distributed our candy, and then we distributed our popcorn and potato chips and other things to try to make ends meet, really. And so we finally got to the point that I thought this business was saleable, so I sold it to the Heileman Company. And I kept thinking about licorice because I said, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I went over in 1987. I went over to England and hired a consultant because licorice is huge in Europe, as you know, coming from Germany. Black licorice is the big thing.
Haribo, the snake. We have the black snake. Haribo,
the rope snake. Yeah. So I hired this guy. His name was Brian, and I love the guy. So he and I went out and we bought some used equipment, and then we bought the equipment and Brian back to the U.S.
From England?
From England, and brought him over here, and he spent a month or so after we had the equipment all installed. He came over and showed us how to make licorice. Okay.
No kidding.
Yes.
In Perham again.
In Perham, in a little 10,000 square foot steel building,
Concrete floor or?
Oh, concrete floor though, yes. Yes. We got all the way up to concrete. Now we're big into, we only like to build concrete buildings because for human consumption, you need to have a good concrete building.
Okay.
So we
got it running.
Got it running and didn't make, again, when you first make stuff, it isn't as good as you want it to be, but you just keep struggling through it, tweaking it. Yes.
How do you do it? I mean, I'm sorry, and that was always what I had in mind. Because we're in Perham, and I know we have a lot of agriculture. We do a lot of potato, we do sugar beet, we do corn. I don't know, we have agriculture here, and we have milk and dairy. Is there any of those? Potato chips, yes, potato.
Yes.
Dog food, I don't even know what's all in it besides, it says chicken chunks or something.
Yes.
But licorice,
yes.
What's the secret, not the secret ingredient, but is it molasses? Is it from the sugar beet? Is there a local ingredient?
It's very, very local. This is we've been blessed with good local commodity items and costs because potatoes are grown in Perham now. Sugar comes out of Moorhead. Corn syrup comes out of Wahpeton, Breckenridge, from Cargill. Cornstarch comes from Iowa, from ADM or Cargill. And then with black licorice, you use molasses, which came out of the Twin Cities. And so all of our ingredients have always been pretty local. So then if you have good ingredients and you have good labor, which we did initially with all the farm kids and people that we hired over the years, because when we started our businesses, especially at Tuffy's and Barrel of Fun, we had families with 6 to 13 kids, and they were all hard workers, and a lot of the whole family would practically come through our plants, and so now we have kids that come to work for us in the summer, and they sit there and they pack chips all day. They're happy to get back to college because there's got to be something they decided better than packing 60 bags of potato chips in a case. So we've incentivized a lot of kids to go to school, so to speak, and learn and
sure.
But anyway.
So Gary, what was his name? He got the product to the
Brian
from England, and now we got it up and running, and we got the corn syrup or sugars, and I'm sorry I interrupted. I didn't know what it takes.
Yeah, we've got all these ingredients pretty much close to us. And film comes out of the Twin Cities, packaging does. And so we got this company going, and then we so now this was in
Kenny's Candy. What was that called then? Kenny's Candy?
No, yes, Kenny's Candy.
So in 1987ish, you start Kenny's Candy
Yeah.
with a bunch of British equipment
Yes.
and all the ingredients, and then you have a recipe. Did you buy a recipe with the machinery? How did that all happen?
No, the consultant had the recipes.
Okay.
And he made it work. Well, anyway, so what happened is, as I described to you how we made this licorice, how we packed licorice back when we owned Barrel of Fun, and put the labels on. It was so labor intensive. I said, there's got to be a better way to do this. So we ended up with a very continuous flow of licorice, and you really should come and see our plant
I would
so
love
you
to.
can understand. So now we have 1,200 pounds an hour coming down the lines, and the pieces are cut and they're cooled, and then the girls pick them up. Say a pound is 32 pieces. They put 32 pieces onto a bag that goes through, and everything's automatic, 60 bags a minute instead of
Sealed and
everything is just pretty automated, really. And so we started our business by just selling bulk licorice to what we call rebaggers, like you see, whether it's Eileen's or just a number of probably 20 rebaggers that we sell products to in the U.S. They buy our licorice and then put it under their label and stuff. So.
well, that happens too. So you're the manufacturer
Yeah.
now for other rebaggers.
Yes.
So what you did initially when you took it apart, you now do to others.
Yes.
Ah, okay, interesting.
Yeah. So they buy it bulk now, or most of the time we put it in bags and they relabel it, or we use their bags and just use their labels. So we've gotten so much more efficient. I mean, it's crazy.
So you started 3 companies from scratch, let's say, and now we're at Kenny's Candy.
Yes.
And so 1987, I don't even know what was around. I was like 8. The 90s are coming. So how did you start to bring your product into the gas stations, or like how much help? How many people started?
Yeah.
Was it 3 people? 10? And then how did you grow Kenny's Candy to where it is today? Because you bought a bunch back. Tell us about that phase now.
Well, here's the best thing is that, so 87 we started Kenny's. In 1988, the G. Heilemann Brewing Company went into bankruptcy.
Okay.
A gentleman from Australia by the name of Alan Bond bought the company, bought the G. Heilemann Brewing Company, which also at that time owned Barrel of Fun, and also owned some bakeries around the Midwest. They had about 10 or 11 bakeries. So when they went into bankruptcy, the CFO ended up trying to sell all the assets. Well, they came to me and said, would you want to look at buying this company back? And I said, yes, we would. But what happened is I had just started Kenny's, so I didn't have the wherewithal to take on Barrel of Fun myself. So I got Ronnie Offit involved, and then 2 of our key people, along with myself and Ronnie Offit, bought the company back.
Oh.
And this is in 1988. Okay.
I see.
So after selling it in 81, bought it back 7 years later. Okay, so now we've got Barrel of Fun and we've got Kenny's going together. Okay.
Okay.
So then we kept going. Kenny's was separate, and Barrel of Fun was separate at the time. So in 1995, I ended up buying Ronnie Offit out, so that I essentially did own both Kenny's and Barrel of Fun at the time. Okay. So then in 2001, they were going to close the Tuffy's plant 30 years later after we had sold it.
Okay.
So they called and said, would you like to buy the plant back? And so we ended up negotiating, and so I bought it back.
2001.
So now we have Kenny's, we have Barrel of Fun, and Tuffy's all together in what's called KLN Enterprises, which eventually we changed the name to KLN Family Brands, which reads much better because we are a family company. So then along came 2016.
2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago. Almost 15, actually. 3 years ago, we sold the Barrel of Fun company to another larger snack food company called Shears.
Okay.
And so now we are left with Kenny's, and Tuffy's.
Okay.
So from a family standpoint, so now, my kids own most of the business and stuff now.
So family, mentioning family, you have a son that is doing is he the operating
Yes.
chief COO or CEO?
No, Charlie, my son is the president,
Mm-hmm.
and my son-in-law is the VP of sales for KLN Family Brands,
Mm-hmm.
and and then we've got a lot of people below that. We've got my cousin Kurt Nelson is our COO,
Mm-hmm.
and then both of his children are employed by us. One is a marketing director, and one is one of our sales reps. And
Mm-hmm.
so we've got a fair amount of family involved within our company today.
Mm-hmm.
And my godchild, Tammy Kalina, is our CFO.
Mm-hmm.
So our company is developed with 99% perm people,
Mm-hmm.
kids that started with us at Barrel of Fun when we first started the business. At that time, we were only 14 years old, which is unheard of today, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But fortunately, we didn't have any incidents that caused any concern, but we were fortunate. But these kids that were 14 then are now the plant managers and just have
Wow.
a lot of nice positions.
So just to round that up, you started with your dad by yourself and a 1-ton pickup truck.
Yeah.
Actually, quite a while ago. How many people are employed by your companies today?
Well, at the highest point, which was in 2015, we had 1,800 people.
Wow.
But that included about 300 people in Phoenix and 100 people in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Because we had developed over our period of time that we had Barrel of Fun as a family, we built a plant in Phoenix. I think it was about 2008 or something like that. We built that plant, and then we built a plant, or we actually repurposed a plant that was a snack food plant in Waterford, Pennsylvania, and we did that I think about 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have been 2012. So, and you know what? We always build nice plants.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can see, we built the beautiful new extrusion and packaging area at Tuffy's. That's kind of the big concrete
Mm-hmm.
plant that you see that's 200,000 square feet. And then now we're building a great big grinding,
Yeah.
mixing, and receiving facility,
Yeah. Just now.
closing all the streets in Perm, which really
Yeah.
is going over big.
For 2 months already.
Yes, and it's going to be till next spring. I mean,
Oh my
that's-
God.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. I should pull your ears.
Yes.
No, it's good.
Yeah, it's
It's
good.
fascinating. So you actually sell your product nationwide,
We do.
East Coast to West Coast?
and we export a fair amount. Probably a little less than 5% of our sales are exported.
To Canada, mainly?
Yeah, Canada's a lot.
Because we're bordering. I mean,
a little bit of Mexico,
Okay.
but a lot goes to Japan.
oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. So
Candy or dog food?
dog food.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you look at the companies, just is dog food the 60% or is it equal?
Dog food is about 85%.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, dog food is the biggest part of
Okay.
our.
So that's a large
Yeah. Yeah.
piece to the companies.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. So, I mean, I think to ask you if you ever regret to come back to Perham, the answer is of course no. But
No.
so do you feel that Perham was just the perfect place? I mean, you described the big families that supported your startup phases and the help that you actually got. So, what do you think is so special, or what do you think made you so successful? Yeah, what was it? A bunch of luck, or was it really your talent? Was it the times? Do you know?
You know, I think little bit was luck, probably, but honestly, these families I've described, the big families, the Lockwitzers, the Topkins, the Gooks, and so many families that were big families, were such high quality labor compared to what we experience today. So that was a big factor. Then the city of Perham has done everything that we've ever asked them to do. We got to build a bigger pond for our wastewater. I mean, we use 10 to 20 million gallons of water a month at Barrel of Fun. We don't use much at Tuffy's, but at Tuffy's we use the steam that comes from our incinerator in town, as does Baumgard's Creamery, by the way. So, I mean, it's a beautiful use of energy. The plant is very safe. I was just reading about last night in the paper where they bring in, 250 ton a day of waste from the counties around us, Wadena and Cass County and Becker County and some other counties, to burn. But before they burn, they actually go through the garbage and pick out the aluminum cans, and they pick out whatever things they can pick out that make sense.
Recyclable
steel, things like that. A big piece of steel they'll take out and do something else with. So recycling as much as they can, of course. And then what's left they burn, and it's very safe the way they do it. They've got scrubbers, and they've adhered to the EPA regulations. And then the steam comes down. First, Baumgard's gets what they need, and then it comes to us, and we get what we need. So
that's an energy source. Do you
it's
feed
absolutely.
a turbine, or do you just use the heat? What do you do with the steam?
The steam actually comes in a big tube. It's probably 2 feet in diameter, and it just continuously shoots down this tube, which is insulated, and then
for pressure, or for heat, or for causing a turbine?
Both. Yeah, to cause the extruder to run, and it causes us to be able to mix the ingredients. And it's just a phenomenal deal for us.
So that waste burning facility is your source of energy.
It is
for all those factories here.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes. A lot of people don't know that, but it.
So you buy that though? It's a service that you purchase? Yeah.
We pay about the same price as if we were using natural gas.
Okay.
And natural gas is pretty cheap right now, so the steam is fairly cheap, but this plant still operates in the black, so everything kind of works. What people pay to get rid of their garbage goes to the local garbage haulers. They bring all this stuff into this plant. They recycle everything possible, glass, aluminum, big pieces of steel, and then everything else gets burned instead of
going to the landfill.
Yeah, in New York, or Minneapolis, they don't know what to do. They've got a couple incinerators, and for some reason, one of them isn't going to be probably operable going forward. I don't know, because it's antiquated or what, but then they don't know what they're going to do with. It's just going to take big piles of landfill. I mean, you can imagine. Because even here in our little community, we've got a landfill that's kind of getting full.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it's.
So the area is.
I think we're doing a nice job in terms of being a good partner in utilizing steam that just would go out the pipe. Instead we're actually using it, and they're getting paid for it. So anyway.
So your life here, if you reflect, 70 plus years of life in Perham and Otter County, what makes that so special, living in Lakes Country, to you? Did you get a lot of energy or inspiration, maybe being so connected to nature? what is your opinion about living rural or living in Lakes Country?
Well, you know, well, first of all, living in a small town is just fun. I mean, you know, we were able to play baseball and football and basketball and all the sports and swimming. We used to swim every day almost when we were kids, from the time we were probably, I don't know, 14 until we got out of high school. I mean, we worked, and at night we'd go swimming and take a bar of soap, and which wasn't real sweet, but we did that in the olden days. And so yeah, that's the life was. I mean, it's just a good life. I mean, to know your neighbors and just know almost everybody, not know them, but I mean, know who they are and
know the face.
Know the face, yes, yeah.
People wave and people are friendly.
Yeah.
So you like the small town life?
I love the small town life, and it's just been fun to see how our community has developed. I mean, and we've developed because we have a lot of people that care. And when we put our minds to something, like whether it's building one of the biggest things we did was build the PAC, the area community center, and which is going to be remodeled now, and just a lot of nice things going on. And now we built a new hospital, which, you know, the city of people in Perm raised $4 million to help facilitate that thing getting built. And we work together. I mean, you know, we're going to remodel the old school now, and so we've got about
a new school.
Yeah, and we've got the new school, but then the old school that's left is what.
What's going to happen there? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, we do, because we're very involved in it.
Okay.
We're going to repurpose it for mostly for the Boys and Girls Club. And then also for the Autism Center, which my wife Kim is involved in.
Okay.
Starting up and stuff, and Productive Alternative is coming there. Kinship is coming there. So we got a lot of nice things going on to repurpose that facility, and then we're going to be also spending quite a bit of money on fixing up the PAC. We're going to add on to it a little bit. Needs a facelift. It needs more insulation. It's not. We skimmed when we built the building initially. We just didn't think we could raise more than $3 million, and so we ended up kind of cutting back on a few areas that have now come to bite us a little bit, because it's costing way too much to heat it, and so we need to re-insulate and fix the outside and do a little bit of stuff on the inside, and we just got a lot of good things. But you know what? We're where we're at because our community works together.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, if you came to some of the meetings, and many meetings that we have, I mean, just on, I think about what would 300 little kids do if they didn't have Boys and Girls Club today, which is a beautiful facility for these kids, or the PAC, where, I mean, you go there at night, parking lot's full after 4 o'clock, you know. And so, I mean, where was everybody before this? I mean, this is the most crazy nice thing we've ever done, the PAC.
So you like to give back to the community as much as you can by sharing your success that everybody helped you build. So you're involved on those things heavily.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll just say yes.
Yeah.
Very heavily. Want to be. We want to be. Kim and I and my family, my whole family, gives back, and will continue to give back.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our. My dad got involved in a lot of projects that. Putting lights at the baseball diamond when 50 years ago or 60 years ago, when people were attending little baseball games in Perham, I mean, you couldn't find a place to park. It was so busy. So then they finally put lights up. And my dad, along with a lot of other people, the Arviks, and, you know, and then we had sand greens on our golf course. Okay, 60 years ago, my dad said, I think we got to try to get into grass greens, because we used to go play golf in Detroit Lakes, which had a nice grass greens, and so he was very instrumental in starting the golf course in a big fundraiser to build greens, regular grass greens. And then the next thing came the clubhouse, and now it's a nice clubhouse, and now it's 27 holes. Beautiful.
It's a nice golf club.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It is. I played
I
it.
know.
That's nice. So you think you learned giving back from your father?
Absolutely.
So.
Sure.
Yeah. So.
And my son Charlie and daughter Tina are doing the same.
So you taught them the same values, the family traditions?
Yeah, I guess it works out that way. And, and my wife Kim has gotten involved in this autism center, which is phenomenal. And so it's been fun to be able to do those things. I mean, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even before, we had a lot of debt. I mean, all my life, debt.
Because you built so much, you had
Yes.
to borrow money to
Yes,
create.
we're always making better, better, better. I mean, our mantra is nice facilities, especially today. In today's environment, you need to have a germ-free, everything has to be perfect. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And to make it matters worse, Tuffy's is more stringent when it comes to controls and things, which is fine, than human
It is,
food
huh?
plants. Yes. It's nuts. But it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's why we built this new plant, and now we're building more bins so we can bring more ingredients. We're trying to buy, in fact, my objective here in the next, say, 18 months is to get a lot more of the commodities that we use in our pet food plant grown right in Perm area.
Okay.
Or Perm, say 100-mile radius from Perm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So we can get these ingredients here instead of southern Manitoba or northern North Dakota, because we find that we can grow most of the lentils and peas and flaxseed and barley, and all those crops can be grown here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So better for us as a manufacturer, better for the farmer to have alternative crops
Mm-hmm.
to
And
probably get better returns on than corn, wheat, and soybeans.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
you have a couple of projects left, or are you retired?
no, I work when I want. I love this.
So-
I came over here. I can sit here and relax as there's nothing pressing me.
Mm-hmm.
But I am going to go out now. My objective here now going forward is to just work on commodities, to work with our vendors to get closer to them. When you sell products, you need to get close to your customers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a good, strong relationship. And you know what? The same is true with vendors.
Mm-hmm.
It's been phenomenal for me to go up to a guy right outside of Boston, which is about 80 miles away. Here's a guy, he's 92 years old, and his wife, and they have 2 children. And we started buying a few potatoes from him, and then we started buying just a little bit of wheat from him. Now we buy a lot of stuff from them, because now they can grow flaxseed
Mm-hmm.
and peas, and so it's been fun for me to develop those types of relationships, because when I go up there and see them, I get coffee and cookies.
So you're still out, yeah?
I am. I like being out.
Love it.
Well, I've always liked the direct sell business. I love cold calling. I have no problem calling on anybody, really. It's fun to me, it's a challenge. So you go to call on somebody, and let's just say that whether I want to sell them some dog food, or if we want to buy some peas from them to using our pet food. It's just fun to go up and visit with them and talk to them, and that's what I'm going to be doing the next week and a half now.
Still hands-on, yeah.
As soon as I get done talking to you, in
Yeah,
fact, I'm going to go out and I'm going to Detroit Lakes and talk to a pretty good-sized farmer that just decided to raise a bunch of peas for us this year. He loves it. It's worked out good for him. So instead of getting it from 250 miles from us, we're going to get it 20 miles from us.
Wow.
So this is what we're trying to work on, and it's not rocket science, honestly. It's just, I've got the time to do these things, and so that's what I've been assigned to do.
I think I would have many, many more questions, but very fascinating. I think we learned a lot about your story and about Perham and about the success that you had. And closing out, I think we should mention for your life's work or your continuous work, you have been honored with the Minnesota Entrepreneurial Hall of Fame, Business Hall of Fame.
Actually was blessed with two kind of distinct deals. One was in 2013, I was nominated as the Family Business of the Year for about a 6-state area.
Oh, wow.
Which was very nice. And then because I'm getting old, I was just inducted into the Minnesota Business Hall of Fame this year.
Yes.
In July. So I've been blessed, and I've been, but the people of Perham have made our businesses. The city and the city management of whoever's been there just is whatever, if there's something we need, and we pay for everything, believe me. These ponds that you see out there have been paid for, but we need them. And I mean, here's another thing. So the byproduct goes out there. Some of it settles, which they then take out and spread, which is fertilizer. And then they pump the water onto crops, which is beautiful because, it's just they're pumping on some material that is good quality stuff for growing, and so it works out. I mean,
so you created a whole ecosystem in a way in this Perham with your supply chain and energy sources and energy providing. It's a very nice model, in fact.
It really kind of, that's just the way it's evolved. I mean, it's kind of lucky. I mean, but that's where your luck comes in a little bit. But like I say, between the city, who has really bent over backwards for us, and the people that we've been involved with, and to see how some young kids have grown into the management positions. I mean, all of our management people are almost from Perham. I mean, kids that have come back from after college or just stayed and just worked up the ranks into various positions. I mean, it's been fun to see that, for them to have the opportunity, and it's business has been good for us, but you know what, we've never been afraid to borrow money and just always kind of pay it back, and been pretty lucky.
Well, thank you very much for giving me your time and
Sure.
sharing your story. It was a true pleasure.
Yeah.
And I wish you a good fall and a happy weekend ahead.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, this was already our newest episode of the Lake Life Weekend podcast. We sure hope you enjoyed it. Tune in again next week with another great guest and updates. Always check out our website, lakelifeweekend.com, and if you have some comments, please feel free to email us at hello@lakelifeweekend.com, and you have a wonderful weekend ahead.